The exhibition started as an idea to try and work at two museums at Sydney University, the Wilson Museum and the Shellshear Museum. I was given permission to work there as an artist through a friend, Jennifer Menzies, and she's a forensic researcher that works at the Shellshear Museum. And there are some stipulations about working at both museums. There's no cameras, there's no digital devices allowed. They limit access to the public for legal reasons. The Anatomy Act is an enforceable thing by law, and they are governed by it in both museums. The more I worked in the museum, the more I became aware of what it's there for. They are both educational facilities. So what people are doing, in essence, is donating their bodies to science and research and a teaching institution so that a new generation can go in and learn all the skills that are required to go out and save a new generation of lives. So for me, it became obvious that that's what this was all about. So I was very aware that whatever I took in as an artist, pencil and paper, was it, which kind of suited me. It's the opposite of what we in the 21st century are exposed to, masses of digital imagery every day, everywhere. So I was kind of enticed by this idea that here's a situation as an artist where I can go in and with pencil and paper to record things. Those drawings of the teeth or of the Beauchene skull, they come with their own almost like inbuilt surrealism, and for that reason I needed to make them fairly accurate. Other drawings like this one are done fairly quickly, and I wasn't concerned about the anatomy which was being revealed in this section. For me, it's more about this, as I said before, this kind of heroic pose of this head gazing out of the frame. The fact that it's come from a medical faculty as a teaching model, for me, was something that's aside from the fact. It's much more about the humanness of the figure and that pose that we're looking at and capturing there. Some of the works from the Head Over Head exhibition actually combine both worlds, the kind of world of these donors from the museum with these aspects of models from the life drawing situations. And there's something that happens when you're in front of a model and someone's giving you a time frame to work with. It forces you into kind of focusing and being very selective about what the end result is. So I approached this in very, very much the same way. Each trip up to Sydney University was one session of drawing, and that was it. I'd come back to the studio, photograph that drawing, and then start working the drawing up into a graphic medium, into the prints that are the major part of the show. I've made some conscious decisions about the type of printmaking that I'm doing. The prints are being made relatively quickly, and I'm choosing to do things like monotypes and dry points, which lend themselves to spontaneity and a rapid way of working. I've been known to spend 6 months on a lino cut, and that's not what I wanted with this exhibition. It's become a bit of a thing that I'm doing, which you can probably pick up in a couple of things. I'm trying to create this, it's almost like a halo effect around the subject. In some respects, the works that I'm choosing, especially the ones from the museum, tend to reflect some of the educational aspect of it, because it's quite a strong underpinning of the work. This idea that a lot of the works are there, like those models of the skulls and the teeth, are there for educational reasons. The other works are selected from a point of view of trying to, I guess, reflect somehow or other, for want of a better description, like the kind of heroic nature of some of these donors, because that's how I'm kind of seeing their generosity and their role in donating their bodies to the medical research. So in a way, I am looking for that angle. Makes sense in a way of bringing these two worlds together, because it seems to flow quite naturally from the idea of this mortality and regeneration aspect. A lot of the drawings, which are the starting point, were done in situ. As I said, no reference to cameras, no photographs to go back to, no online images that I could quickly reference. So whatever I was able to draw in that day at the museum was it. One session, one drawing, 4 or 5 hours there with the sample, and come back to the studio, photograph that drawing, and then start working the drawing up into a graphic medium, into the prints that are the major part of the show. Head Over Head suddenly made sense to me as a title for the show because it had this idea of one thing following on from another thing, following on from another thing. So mortality and life became kind of flexible. It's like a regenerative cycle of events where you've got donors and a new generation coming in, learning those skills to save a new generation of lives.